So we are reading from Bhagavatam, 2nd canto, 9th chapter, verse number 35. Chatusloki, the last verse. This is 35. Commentary of Sri Jiva Goswami. Here he is explaining the meaning of this word Sarvatra Sarvada. Anvaya Vyatireka Yat Syat Sarvatra Sarvada. So he is explaining that bhakti is that which is applicable everywhere, in all ages, all yugas, all stages of life, all places, all over the universe, even beyond the universe. So when we were here, this Sarveshu Karyesu Yatha Yasya Smritya Cha Namoktya Tapoyagya Kriyadeshu Nyunam Sampurntamiti Sadhya Vandaitam Achyutam. This is what we were.
Which page is that?
443. So everybody got this?
Paragraph. Can we do that one again? And
Yes.
and then start up? I think that's where we left off.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Sarveshu Karyesu Yatha is giving an example how it is applicable in all types of activities. And this verse is speaking Yasya Smritya Cha Namoktya Tamo Yagya Kriyadeshu Nyunam Sampurnatameti Sadhyo Vande Tamachyutam. I bow down to Lord Achyuta by remembering Him and His name, or reciting His name. All the imperfections are removed in the activities such as tapas, sacrifice, or anything else. Adishu means anything else. That means every activity becomes complete by taking the name of the Lord. So this shows that bhakti is applicable in everything. Sarva Phaleshu Yatha, and it can give all fruits. So his famous words Akama Sarvakama Vaityadi Akama Sarvakama Mokshakama Dharabhi Tivreda Bhakti Yogena Yajeta Purusham. In the second canto there is a big list of worship of various deities which is given, that if one has a specific desire then one can worship specific deity. But he says that all this can be attained simply by worship of the Supreme Lord. So therefore it is giving all results. And then Tatha Yatha Taror Mula Nisechanena Tripyanti Bhajaskanda Upsakha. If you pour water at the root of a tree, then everything becomes green. So similarly, if you worship Lord Achyuta, then all success comes. And as Prano Bharacya Thendriyanam, just as when you eat food, then all the senses get power. So bhakti is like that. Means bhakti gives life to everything. Without bhakti nothing can become successful. Ityadi Vakyena Hari Paricharyayam Kriya Maranayam Sarvesham Anyesham api Devadinam Upasana Swatayam Bhavati iti yatopi sarvatrikutapi. So he says that by these statements it also shows that if one is doing paricharya or service to Lord Hari, then the worship of all other devas is naturally done. Sarvesham Anyesham api Devadinam Upasana Swatayam Bhavati iti yatopi sarvatrik. So this also shows that bhakti is all-pervasive nature of bhakti. Yathoktam skande Sri Brahma Narada Samvade, as it is said in Skanda Purana, in a dialogue between Brahma and Narada. Archite Deva Devashe Sankha Chakra Gadadhari Archita Sarva Devasyu Yata Sarva Gato Hari. If one has worshipped Lord who holds conch, disc and a club, who is the Deva of the Devas, then all the Devas become worshipped. So Lord Hari is all pervading because He is in everybody. Evam yo bhaktim karoti yad gavadikam bhagavate diyate yena dvara bhutena bhakti kriyate yasmai Sri Bhagavat Purnartham diyate yasmad gavadikat payadikam adaya bhagavate nivedyate yasmin desadav kuleva kaschit bhakti mantishtati tesamapi kritarthatvam Puraneshu drishyate iti karak gatamati. So now he is showing from grammatical point of view that all the karakas, they are applicable to bhakti. So he starts from the first one. First karaka is the karta. So prathama bhakti. Evam yo bhaktim karoti. So bhaktim karoti means sa bhaktim karoti. So this is explaining that person is doing bhakti. So you have the pratham karaka. And then yad gavadikam bhagavate diyate. When you give the cow as a charity to the Lord. So cow is the object. So dvitiya vibhakti. This is dvitiya karaka that is used in the service of the Lord. And yena dvara bhutena bhakti kriyate. So you do bhakti by some instrument. So this is the third case. Yasmai Sri Bhagavat Purnartham diyate. Then the fourth case that you do this for the pleasure, Sampradan Karak, for the pleasure of the Lord. Yasmad Gavadikat Payadika Madhai Bhagavate Nivedyate. Then the Apadan Karak, the fifth case, that you take the milk from the cow and then give the milk to the Lord, offer it to Him. And as you know that karakas, the sixth case is not used. So he goes to the seventh then. So locative case. Yasmin desadav kuleva kaschit bhakti mantishtati. You perform bhakti in a particular place or in a particular family. So tesam api kritarthatvam. They all become perfected. One who is doing it, the object which is given in charity, the senses, or if you do it through someone. And the fourth case, to the Lord and the place, the milk you take from the cow in the place or the dynasty. So Puraneshu drishyate iti karagatamati. So there are stories related to all of them. Evam sarvatrikam sadhitam. So in this way, he has given so many examples to show the universality of bhakti, and how it is applicable for those who are sadachari or durachari, who are perfect, not perfect, or have become perfect, or even those who have become associate of the Lord, and so on. Renounced, not renounced, family people, married, unmarried, children within the womb, about to die. All this he has shown. Then he says, Sadatanatvam api has sarvadaiti. So in this verse, you have sarvatra sarvada. Anvaya vyatireka yat syat sarvatra sarvada. So now he talks about sarvada. That at all times, and it is continuous. It is not something like Gyan Marg that you perform bhakti And then when you become perfect, then you give up the process. So tatra sargado yatha. So first he gives an example of beginning of creation. So modern people will tell you that, modern scholars, that bhakti developed only in the Middle Ages, and before that it was not really there. But in the Bhagavatam it says that bhakti existed at the very beginning of creation. He says, Kale Nanasta Pralaya Vani Jayada Sangita. That this, my Vani, which is called Veda, it was lost in time. And Mayadav Brahmane Prokta Dharma Yasyam Madatmaka. When at the beginning I spoke it to Brahma. So why is it bhakti? He says Yadasyam Madatmaka. That this dharma which is described here is Madatmaka. It has me as the essence, which means bhakti. And then Brahma is the one who gave it to his sons. Tena prokta cha putraya manve purvajaya sa tato bhagavadev gana sapta brahmashi. And so on. So it flowed into the universe from the very beginning. And then he says, this is at the beginning of the creation. Then Sarga Madhya. Then during the creation also there is bhakti. So he said that Sarga Madhya tu Bahutraya. But so many places there are so many examples of Pandavas, Prahlad Mahal, Dhruv Maharaj. All kinds of examples are there of bhakti during the sustenance of the universe. And then he says Chaturveda Pralaya Shoki. Then bhakti is also found when there is a pralaya. And this is referring to the question raised by Vidura. So Vidura says that Tattvanam Bhagavan Tesam Katidha Pratisankrama Tatrivam Ka Upasiram Ka Usayati. That how do these elements become dissolved when the world is destroyed? And when the world is destroyed, then who are the people who worship the Lord? Tatrivam Ka Upasiram and Kaus Vidanusayate. And who are those who sleep after the Lord's sleep? So this also shows that there are two types of living beings. Those who are conditioned here in the material world, and when the dissolution occurs, the world is destroyed, then these people, they get also dissolved into the body of Brahma and then into Mahavishnu. But there are eternal associates of the Lord, they continue. They are not destroyed, so they are the one who actually serve Him. That's why it says who serve Him and who are sleeping. So iti vidur prashna. And then sarveshu yugeshu. Then He is also worshipped, Lord is worshipped in all the yugas. Tritaya dhyayato Vishnum Tretayam yajto makaihi Dvapare paricharyayam Kalau tadhari kirtana. So whatever benefit you get by meditating on Lord Vishnu in the Krita Yuga or Satya Yuga, and what you gain by performing sacrifice, worshipping Him through sacrifice in Treta, and by worshipping in the temple in Dwapar Yuga, in Kali Yuga, you get the same by doing Hari Kirtan. So this shows that in all yugas, Lord is worshipped. So in these examples, He has shown that the devotion to Lord is an eternal feature, and it is not limited only to some particular age or particular yuga or particular state of life, but pervades all states. Kim Bahuna says, what more can be said? This is actually through Vyatireka now. Sahani stan mahachidram samoha sacha vibhramaha yan muhurtam kshanam vapi vasudevena chintete. Iti api Vaishnava. This is said in the Vishnu Purana that indeed that is the great loss, that is the great defect, that is the great bewilderment and confusion, that if a person does not remember Vasudeva for a muhurta or even for a moment. So this is a great loss. That means he has to be remembered at all times. And that is the meaning of Sarvada. Then Sarva Avasthasu api, in all the states of life, and he gives example of this. Garbhe Sri Narada Karita Sravanena Sri Prahlade Prasiddham. That while the child is in the womb, there also bhakti was performed by Prahlad. Because when Prahlad's mother was staying in the ashram of Narad Muni, although he is not supposed to have an ashrama, but for that sake he had made one. Then he was speaking to Prahlad's mother who was pregnant, and Prahlad was listening, because Prahlad himself refers to this while teaching to the classmates. And Balya Sri Dhruvadistu, as a child, Dhruva Maharaj, he did bhakti. Yavane Srimad Ambarish Adisu, as a youth, King Ambarish. Vardhakya Dhritarashtra Adisu, and in the old days Dhritarashtra also became devotee. Usually people don't become devotee in the old days. Dhritarashtra became. So he is also devotee. And Marane Ajamila Dishu, while dying, Ajamila performed bhakti. And Swargitayam Sri Chitraketu Adi, and in heaven Chitraketu was wandering in his aeroplane, going to different planets, including heaven. And Narakitayam api, even in hell, there is bhakti. Example. So yatha yatha hare naam kirtayanti sma narakaha tatha tatha haro bhakti madhuhanto divam yaya. As the people in hell were doing kirtan of Lord's name Hari, then tatha tatha haro bhakti madhuhanto, while performing bhakti to Lord Hari, they went to heaven. So this statement is from Nrsimha Purana. I don't know the exact incident, but there is sometimes mentioned that Narada Muni goes there and does kirtan, and people engage in kirtan and they get out of the hell. There is also mention of Yudhishthira Maharaj going to hell, and when he went there, what is this? Did you lose the connection or what?
Hello?
Did you lose?
Are you there, Bobby?
Yeah, did you lose connection?
Yeah, it just for a few, like 20 seconds it was gone.
Okay.
You just finished reading this verse in the Hari, from the Nrsimha Purana.
Okay, then you didn't lose.
Yatha yatha hare nama. Is everyone else there, Muni?
Muni, I don't know. Looks on to me.
Yeah, I think he's there. It's just he's got it on mute. Yeah. Yeah, I did get a message. He's there. Okay.
So there is a mention in Mahabharata that after war was over, then Yudhishthira Maharaj became the king. Then he ruled for 37 years. Then when he got the news that Lord Krishna has left the planet, then he decided to give up his kingdom. He installed Parikshit Maharaj as the emperor and he left for the Himalayas. And then there's a whole story how one by one all the Pandavas they fell down and he was the only one who remained and he went to heaven in the same body. But when he reached there, then he saw that Duryodhana was sitting on a big throne. So he was very surprised. He says, what is this? How come this guy is here? So he said, I don't want to be here. So he started walking back. He told Indra, please get me out of this place. And he said, why? He said, how can I be here when Duryodhana is here? So Indra said, no, don't worry, this is heaven, this is not earth. And all this jealousy, envy, these things you leave now. You are in heaven, you are in a different place. So he asked, but I don't see my brothers, where are they? So he said, your brothers, they are in heaven. So he said, I can't believe this. How is it that these people who are so unrighteous, irreligious, they are in heaven, and my brothers who are so pious and righteous and devoted, they are in hell? So he said, yes. So then he said, well, then I also want to go there, I cannot be here without them. So Indra says, okay. So then Indra takes him to hell. And when he goes there, he sees Bhima suffering in the hell. He said, oh my brother, come, we are here. He sees all of them. And then Indra says, okay, now all of you can go to heaven. So when he wants to leave, and all the hellish people, they are saying, please don't leave, don't leave. We are feeling so comforted in your presence. So then Yudhishthira says, okay, I will stay here. But Indra says, no, you have to go. So there also it is shown that even in hell, at least he is a devotee, so by devotee's association they are getting the benefit. So that's a similar reference from Narsingha Purana he is given. Ateva uktam Durvasa api. So therefore, says Durvasa has also said this, that yan namni muchyate namni ute narakopi, that by taking the name of the Lord Hari, even the hellish people become liberated. So ajamitatai paramanubhavam kritam mayagham bhavate priyanam videhi tasya pachitim vidhatam ucheta namni ute narakopi. This is when Durvasa was running all over the place, being chased by Chakra of Lord Vishnu. And finally he goes to Vaikuntha. So then he is telling the Lord, Tatha etan nirvidyamananam ityadav sarva avastha udahita. So this is from the second canto, first chapter. This is Sukadeva Goswami speaking. Etan nirvidyamananam Harinamanukkirtanam Satamukto Vayam Yoginam Nirvanitam Harinamanukkirtanam. That those people who want to become free from fear and nirvidyamananam, who are suffering, then, O king, it has been decided by the scholars that the only solution is chanting the name of Lord Hari. Kirtan, Naam Kirtan. So ityado api sarva avastha udahati. So this is an example of sarva avastha, that in all states of life bhakti is applicable. अथ तत्र तत्र व्यतिरेक उदाहरणानि च कियन्ति दृश्यन्ते. So he says, I will also show you some of the negative examples in relationship to what he has said. He is not going to give for everything, every example, some of them. Parangatopi vedanam sarvashrastra vedyapi येन सर्वेश्वरे भक्तस्तं विद्यात् पुरुषाधमम्. One who has studied the Vedas and become expert in it and also knows all the literature, if he is not a devotee of the Supreme Lord, then he has to be known as the lowest of human beings. So this is negative, that without bhakti, all other qualifications, all other scholarships are only negative quality, not positive. He says he is the lowest of all. Why lowest? Because such a person will only become more proud. Nothing positive. इति किं वेदैः किमु शास्त्रैर्वा किं वा तीर्थनिषेवणैः विष्णु भक्ति विहीनानां किं तपोभिः किं अध्वरैः. What is the value of Vedic study or studying other literature or going to holy places and taking a dip there? What can one attain by austerities, sacrifices, if one is devoid of devotion to Lord Krishna? किम तस्य बहुभिः शास्त्रैः किम तपोभिः किम अध्वरैः वाजपेय सहस्रैर्वा भक्तिर्यस्य जनार्दन. One who has bhakti unto Sri Krishna, then what is the value to perform? What is the value for him to become expert in various scriptures, or doing austerities, or doing sacrifices, or Vajpaya is a special type of sacrifice where you distribute food. So he says, they have no meaning. Iti Garud Brihanardiya Padmavasnam. So these are 3 verses from Garud Puran, Brihanardiya Puran and Padma Puran respectively. Then he quotes from Bhagavatam. Tapasvino dana parayasasvino manasvino mantra vida samangalaha shemam navindanti vinaya darpanam tasmai subhadrashavashe namo namaha. This is prayers by Sukadeva Goswami. Says that I pay my obeisances to the Lord again and again, who is called here as Subhadra Sravasa. Hearing about him is most auspicious. Says that if one is tapasvi, after following penances, Danpara, devoted to giving charity, Yasasvi, very famous, Manasvi, very wise, Mantravidaha, knows the mantras, Sumangala is auspicious, Shemam na vindanti vinaya darpanam. None of these people attain ultimate goal of life if they do not utilize all this for the sake of the Lord. Nayatra Vaikuntha Katha Sudhapaga न साधवो भागवतास्तदाश्रयः न यत्र यज्ञेशमखा महोत्सवः सुरेशलोकोऽपि न जातु सेव्यताम्. You should not live in a place, even if it is heaven, if there are no rivers of the nectar of the Katha of Lord Krishna, means if you are not able to hear about Krishna in a place, leave that place. Don't live in a place where there are no devotees, sadhavo bhagavata tadasya, who are devoted to him. Nayatriya Gyesha Makha Mahotsava, where there are no festivals of sacrifice to worship the Lord. So even if this place is the place of Indra, planet of Indra, then don't be there, because you will waste your human life living in such a place. And then he has this verse, Anamya Krita Koti Bhi. This is from 10th canto in Bhagavatam. 59. या चानम्य किरीटकोटिभिः पादौ स्पृशन्नच्युतमर्थसाधनं सिद्धार्थे तेन विगृह्यते महान् अहो सुराणां च तमोगाढ्यताम्. So this is referring to the last time of Lord Krishna going to heaven to get the Parijata flower. Dattva Surendra Bhavanam Dattva Vitte Chakundali Pujitastu Darshanam Sahindranaya Cha Sapriya. Yes. So he says that Yaya Cha Anamya Kirita Koti Bhi Padam Sprishan Achyuta Artha Sadhanam Siddhartha Etena Vigrihyate Mahanaho Suranam Cha Tamodhigadhitam. So that look at these devas, how they are tamasic or ignorant because of their wealth. Because Indra was trying to fight with Krishna when he took this Parijata flower. That Siddhartha Etena Vigrihyate, that all these perfections, they are attained simply by falling at the feet of the Lord. Sprishanachyutam Artha Sadhanam. And then next is Salokya Savashti Samutrityabi Diyamanam Apina Jananti Vilamat Sevam Janam. Famous for the devotees, they don't want anything. On the 4 types of liberation. Na danam na tapo na ijya ityadi. Nothing can please the Lord. Any type of charity or sacrifice, austerities, the only thing which pleases him is bhakti. This is from the 7th canto, 7th chapter, 52 verse. न दानम न तपो न इज्जा न शौचम न व्रतानि च प्रियते मलया भक्ता हरिरन्नीलवदनम. Is pleased only by devotion and nothing else. न नस्कर्ममप्युच्युत भाववर्जितम न शोभते ज्ञानमलम निरंजनम. Not even this niskarma or the path of Gyan Marg, if it is devoid of bhakti, then it is not very beautiful or appealing. Kuta punah shasvada bhadramishwareina charpitam karma yadapya karma. And what to speak of karma, which is inauspicious from beginning to end, and especially if it is nacharpitam karma, even if it is not offered to the Lord, even if it is niskam karma. Then the next one he has from 3rd canto, 15th chapter. This is from Kumara's going to Vakuntha. Natyantikam viganayantya pite prasadam kintu anyadarpita bhayam purva unnayaste yang twadangri sharna bhavatah kathaya kirtayanti tirtyasya kushlana sanjya. So these Kumaras, when they realized the love of Lord to his devotees, then they spoke this and said that the Rasagya, Kusla Rasagya, the experts who know the taste of your Katha, Kirtan Tirthiyasya Kathaya, who have taken shelter of your lotus feet, they don't take any interest, give no importance even to liberation. Atyantikam vijanayanti apite prasana. What to speak of any other wealth which is lost simply by raising your eyebrows. Atha sarvatra sarvada yadupadyate iti yojnika artho yugpad yatha. So Jiva Goswami is now like a computer, scanning all the Bhagavatam and other scriptures, bringing all these slokas. So he says, now I'm going to quote sloka where Sarvatra and Sarvada both are together. Tasmat Sarvatmano Rajan Hari Sarvatra Sarvada Srotavya Kirtitavya Smartavya Chitavaya. So in this verse, both words are used as in the verse of Chatusloki. And therefore, O King, Lord Hari, who is Sarvatma, who is the very soul of everyone, it is He who has to be always heard about, remembered, meditated upon, and worshipped. Sotavya, Kirtitavya, Smartavya, Bhagavan. Then he says, Sarvatra Sarvada, Anvaya Vyatireka Sarvatra Sarvada Yadupi Paddhati. So in the previous one, Sarvatra and Sarvada was with Anvaya only. Now he quotes a verse of Sarvatra Sarvada which has both Anvaya and Vyatirek, means positively as an injunction and negatively not avoiding bhakti. So Smartavya Sattam Vishnu Vismartavya na Jatuchit Sarve Vidhi Nishedasya Etiyoreva Kinkara. So here Smartavya Sattam Vishnu, Lord Vishnu has to be always remembered. This is Anvaya. And Vismartavya na Jatuchit should never be forgotten. And this is the essence of all the rules and regulations in the Shastra. And Sakalyapi and incompleteness Nahiyato Anyaha Siva Pantha Vishtah Sansritavya Vasudeva Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Yado Bhavat. There is no other auspicious path for those people who exist here in this material world except that activity which will bring bhakti, devotion to Lord Krishna. Iti ukramya tad upsanghare tasmat sarvatmana rajan hari sarvatra sarvada srotavya kirtitavyasya smartavya bhagavan nirana. So he's referring to Sukadeva Goswami's statement because it's from the 2nd chapter of 2nd canto. And Sukadeva Goswami starts speaking in the first chapter of second canto. And in the last chapter of the first canto, Parikshit has raised the question. And the question was that Ataha pritchami sansiddhim yoginam paramam gurum purushasya he yat karyam briyamanasya sarvatha. He says that you are the guru of the yogis. So I'm asking you, what is the thing which will bring perfection to a person here who is dying? Yat shrotavyam atva japyam yat kartavyam nirvi prabhu smartavyam bhajnim vabhuhi yadva vipariyam. What is to be heard, what is to be chanted, what is to be done, remembered, worshipped. You tell me that, or if there is something opposite of that. So in response to this, he spoke these two chapters. And then this is the concluding statement, Tasmat Sarvatmana. So Tasmat refers to a causal statement, therefore. But before that he has explained many things, and he says, therefore this is the most essential thing which has to be done by everybody, all the time, in all places, all stages of life. Sarvatra Sarvada. The very same words are used. So he made a similar statement in the beginning when he began, and that's what is very important. When he started saying, he said, Tasmad Bharat Sarvatmana Bhagwan Ishvaro Hari Shrotavya Kirtitavya Smartavya Ichchatabhayam. This is in the beginning of first chapter. And the last of concluding statement is Tasmad Sarvatmana Rajan Hari Sarvatra Sarvada. So in both he uses the word Tasmad. And Shrotavya Kirtitavya Smartavya Bhagwan. So practically he is saying the same thing. Srotavya, Kirtavya and Smartavya, these three things are recommended. That you hear about Lord, you chant His name and remember Him. So therefore he says, Iti upkramne tad upsanghare tasmat sarvatmana rajan hari sarvatra sarvada srotavya kirtitavya smartavya bhagwan nanam. Nirnam jivanam iti. So Nirnam means the living beings here, not only human beings, but for all. Nirgatim vivicya kavya itivat, and it is said that Nirgatim vivicya kavya. So as in this particular statement, Nirgatim does not mean only the path or destination of human beings, but for all living beings. So now he gives his conclusion. He says, Etad uktam bhavati. This is to be said. Yat karma tat sannyasa bhoga sharir prapta vavadhi. So he says that karma has a limit. People perform karma, and karma has two meanings. One is doing the karma as in the prescribed in the scriptures. That is one meaning of karma. That is a technical meaning, which we call as karma yoga. So that has its limit till one attains jnana and takes sannyas. As Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Sarva karma kila partha jnane parisamapyate. But all the karma comes to an end when one attains jnana. So therefore karma is not sarvatra sarvada. It is not something which is performed at all times and all places. Or if you take the general meaning of karma as action, activity, then it comes to an end when the body dies. So you cannot perform karma without body. So therefore he says sannyas or bhoga sharir prapti avadhi. And yoga siddhi avadhi. If one is following the path of yoga, then one gives up yoga when one attains perfection. Because yoga is chitta vritti nirodha. If you have attained chitta vritti nirodha, then there is no more yoga after that. And Sankhyam Atma Jnana Avadhi. Sankhya has its limit when one attains Atma Jnana, self-realization. And Jnana Moksha Avadhi. The limit of Jnana is Moksha, liberation. If one is following Jnana Marga, the path of knowledge, then it comes to an end when one becomes liberated. Then there is no more process. Tatha tattad ayogyata adhikani cha sarvani evam bhutesu karmadisu sastradi vyavicharita cha gyeya. So he says that this is the ayogyata or disqualification in all of them, and they are not sarvatra sarvada, which is spoken here in the verse tadeva jigyasyam tattu jigyasuna atmana anvaya vyatireka yat syat sarvatra sarvada. So he says that none of these things can fit the meaning of sarvatra sarvada, because they all have their limitations. They are not applicable at all times and all places. So for that reason he says that they are tattat ayogyata adhikani cha sarvani evam bhuteshu karmadishu shastradi vyavicharita cha gya. And therefore in the scriptures also you find that karma, jnana, yoga, sankhya, these are the popular spiritual processes. They all have their vyavichar, which means that they are not recommended something to be followed at all times. In 11th canto, when Krishna is speaking to Uddhava, he says, Jnanai Mai Sanyaset, that jnana should be surrendered to me. But he never said that bhakti has to be surrendered, you give up bhakti and then do something else. So this is Vyavichar. Hari Bhaktestu Anvaya Vyatirekabhyam Sada Sarvatra Tattan Mahima Bhir Uppannatvat. But as far as Hari Bhakti is concerned, devotion to Lord Krishna, then both by Anvaya and Vyatirek, by injunction and prohibition, it is said that Tattan Mahima Bhi Uppanna. Its greatness, its glory has been established everywhere in the scriptures. And therefore Tatha Bhutasya Rahasyanga. So therefore this is the Rahasyanga or the secret part. Because Lord has said that I am going to tell you Jnana, Vigyan, Rahasya and Limb. So he says this is the Rahasya and this is the Anga. So either you can consider Bhakti both here as secret and the Anga, Sadhan Bhakti, or this, if it is applicable only to Sadhan Bhakti, then it is the Anga of the Rahasya, the secret. But because he has referred Sarvatra Sarvada, it also includes the perfected state. Ato rahasyangatvena cha jnana ruparthantarachannataya eva idam uktam. So he says, because bhakti is the anga of this secret, therefore it has been spoken here as hidden by jnana. Rahasya means something which is secret, which you want to hide. So why the verse did not speak about bhakti directly? So he says, for this very reason, because Lord himself has said that I am going to tell you the rahasya, and since this is the anga of that rahasya, it has been spoken as covered by knowledge. Therefore it says, etavadeva jigyasyam tattva jigyasuna atmana. As if the person is looking for knowledge, and this is the knowledge which has to be acquired. This is the covering. Otherwise he could have said that one wants bhakti, then he should practice only this. So anvaya vyatireka yat syat sarvatra sarvada. But when you see by anvaya and vyatirek, there is nothing else which is possible. Tatra api atma vidyaya eva अन्यर्थ संगोपनाद असौ साधन भक्तिरपि क्वचित बाह्यम ब्रह्म ज्ञानादि साधने से आदिति गम्यते. So तत्र अपि आत्म विद्यया एव अन्यर्थ संगोपनाद असौ साधन भक्तिरपि क्वचित बाह्यम ब्रह्म ज्ञानादि साधने स्यात्. Just because it is covered like this by the jnana, so sometimes this is also used as a sadhana or means for attaining Brahma Jnana, this sadhana bhakti. Because anya artha sankopanath being covered by this Atma Vidya. Tatra iyam prakriya. So the process is as follows. Sadhan bhaktehe sarvatrikatvat sadatanattvat cha prathamam sa gurur grahya. Sadhan bhakti, which is sarvatrika, applicable to all beings, means everyone is qualified for this, as he has given so many slokas. And sadatanatva, and it is a regular process. It is not limited to certain period or stage or age of life. So he says prathamam sa guru grahya. First this has to be acquired from a guru. Bhakti is not something which one starts by oneself, but one needs a qualified guru for this, and it has to be acquired from him or her. Tatastad anusthanat bahya sadhanam vairagya purasarta silam atma jnana vijnane chaiti anusangikam bhavati. Then when one is practicing this tatastad anusthanat, then there are external means which are not part of bhakti, like vairagya. So vairagya purasarta silam. So one practices this with external means, keeping renunciation up front. Atma jnana vijnane cha. So one will also get the self-realization as a side effect of bhakti. Because bhakti is not aiming at that. Bhakti is to attain prema for Krishna, love for Krishna, not becoming self-realized. But self-realized also come. Tato bhuyascha tatha bhutatvat bhaktiranuvardhite eva. Then one continues again, and then when continues bhakti, then what happens? One becomes realized in Brahman, Brahma bhuta prasannatma, na sojati na kankshati, sava sarvesu bhutesu mad bhakti lavate param. Then one attains param bhakti. And atma ramascha munihe ityadi bhischa tadaiva bhagavad jnana vijnane chaiti. So then when one continues this, then one will attain knowledge of Bhagavan, means Bhagavan realization. First there is Atma Jnana, self-realization, and then there is Bhagavad Jnana, God realization. तस्मात् ज्ञान विज्ञान रहस्य तद अज्ञानम उपदेशेन चतुश्लोक्या अपि स्वयं भगवान एव उपदेष्टा. So he says that this Gyan, Vigyan, Rahasya, this knowledge, this experience, this secret, which is given here in the form of 4 verses, this has been given by Bhagavan himself directly. It's not given by Paramatma, but by Bhagavan. Because it is the Rahasya. Prema is not for Paramatma. This is the proof that Chatusloki was spoken by Krishna and not by Vishnu Garbhodakshaya Vishnu. Because this Rahasya is Priti, Prema, love, and love is from God. अत्र तस्मै स्वलोकं भगवान सभाजित इति भगवत शब्देन. So in this very chapter, before Lord appeared, it is said that Lord was pleased by his austerities. So the very word Bhagwan is used here. Tasmai Swalokam Bhagwan Swabhajita Sandarsya Masa Param. Bhagwan, not Paramatma, not the immanent soul, super soul, but it was Bhagwan. When he was pleased with Brahma, then he showed him his abode. Because Paramatma does not have an abode. He had his abode, but that is not permanent. So is Sandarshya Masa Param Nayat Param. There is nothing superior to that. So highest is Goloka. This means he showed him Golok Vrindavan. In secret now. Secret meaning. And Dadarsa Tatra Akhila Satvatanam Patam. Later on it is described what did Brahma see? Dadarsa Tatra Akhila Satvatanam Patam. He saw there Satvatapati. And Satvatapati is Krishna. Because he is the Lord of Satvatas, Yadavas. So he actually saw Krishna. So again this is spoken in a hidden manner. What is described here. And Parardhante Swabudhyata Gopavesho Me Purastad Avir Babhuveti Tapni Sutyadi Anukulit Sri Krishna Tvulingena Chasya Vaktum Sri Bhagavatvam Eva Spastam. Then in the Gopal Tapni Upanishad there is a direct statement where Brahma is saying that at the end of Parardha, because he was performing his tapasya, then Lord, he appeared in front of him in the Gopa Vesha, in a cowherd form. So that means it is Krishna who came, and it is Krishna who spoke the Chatusloki Bhagavatam to Brahma. So he says, Asya Vaktu Sri Bhagavatvam Eva Spastam. It is very clear that the speaker of Bhagavatam, this Chatusloki Bhagavatam, is Bhagavan. So I will stop here. It's time for you. If there is any question.
Thank you, Babaji. John, next question. Babaji Baruch?
Yes.
Thank you for a nice class. It's wonderful. I wanted to ask you a question. It relates to the first part of the discussion. About performing bhakti at any time in any circumstance.
And something that has been on my mind a lot in the last few years is that when I joined the ashram back in the 90s, I had the idea that if I want to perform bhakti everywhere, I need to get out of my current life and then get into the ashram, because that's how you do it. You put yourself in a situation where bhakti is all around you because the deities are there and the devotees are there and all that stuff. But now that I'm not in that world, and in some ways I can't relate to it as much, I find myself drawn to, for example, the teachings of Ramanuja, when he says that the same kind of dharmas that you perform before you do bhakti.
Yes. I cannot hear you. Hello? Yes.
Babaji Maharaj, would you rather that I save this for next time?
As you like.
Well, then the short version of the question is, if perform bhakti, at all times or all circumstances, it seems like there's two ways to understand it. One is, whatever circumstances you're in, you can find some way to kind of turn away from them and perform Swarup Siddhi Bhakti. Or another is, as long as you're performing Dharma, you find some way to make that an offering. And then of course you also have your Swarup Siddhi Bhakti that you do. But you find a way to connect your current Dharma with devotional service. And I'm wondering, does that make sense, these kind of two ways of approaching it? And I was wondering what your opinion is on this question.
Both are wrong.
Say it again, please.
Both of them are wrong.
Okay, good.
Because you have to first understand what is bhakti. And don't get confused by Swarup Siddhi Bhakti and Sangha Siddha and all that. That is just a way of understanding it. Bhakti begins as you understand. You know what Jiva Goswami, he said that first Prathama sa Gurur Grahya. That first you accept it from the Guru. That is the beginning. Guru Padashvaya Tasmat Krishna Diksha Desikshana. And this is where people make mistake and they remain confused that you have to be in the ashram, and if you are not in the ashram, it's not bhakti, but you have to do this and that. Bhakti begins when you surrender to Guru, and once you have surrendered to Guru, you are devoted. You are not a material person. There is no question that you can perform anything but bhakti now if you are really surrendered. Surrendering means just like you buy a cow, then cow becomes yours. You pay the money to whom it belongs, and then it is your cow. Now whatever the cow does, it is yours. If it gives cow dung, it is yours. If it gives milk, it is yours. If it eats food, then you have to give it. It belongs to you. So when you surrender to Guru, you become Krishna's person. Then whatever you do, it doesn't matter if you are teaching in the university or you are working in a company. It is devotion if you have actually surrendered. So then there is no question of this dichotomy that now morning I do puja, that is bhakti, now I go to office, this is not bhakti, then I come back, then I again do. It may be different types of bhakti. Therefore Rupa Goswami, when he gives the definition of bhakti, he is not saying that you have to chant, he is not saying that you have to do puja, he is saying anukulan Krishna anusilnam. He is using the important word anusilnam. And this Srila, Jiva Goswami comments on this word that Anusilnam Sarva Dhatu Artha. It includes all the dhatus, means all the words, including that even if you are passing stool, that is bhakti. What can be, more than that? Because if you don't pass stool, you cannot chant. You can try it for 2 days. Don't go to bathroom for 2 days and then let me see you can chant.
Someone else can do that experiment.
So you see, the key point is that in bhakti, it begins with the surrender. Guru Padashraya. You see, the word itself is saying it. That you ashraya, you take shelter, you surrender. And then and here he is talking about the limbs of sadhana bhakti, right? You remember these words from Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, right? You know this verse. So Guru Padashraya Tasmat Krishna Dikshali Sikshna. So this is the beginning. This is where it begins. After that, he has given certain things which you do. But actually it is not limited only to these things. It's like Sakha Chandra Nyaya. You know this Sakha Chandra Nyaya? To show somebody the moon. Then you look at the branch. So it's just an indication that you perform these activities, but it does not mean that bhakti is only this. Bhakti is everything. Because now what are you going to do? It's like if a person gets married with a woman in the Vedic culture, then the woman changes her identity. She is no more the daughter of that person to whom she was born. She becomes the wife of this man and that changes the name. And the family, she leaves the house and comes and lives in the family of the husband, takes a new name, new identity, and it happens instantly, just as the girl goes around the fire 7 times with the husband, her identity is changed forever. In a true Vedic sense I am talking, of course now it may not be practical examples of this, but her identity changes completely, absolutely, forever. Therefore there was no divorce in Vedic culture. And she will ever remain devoted to this person. Whatever she will do, it will be only for this person. Anukulyena Anusilna. That is the meaning of sati or the chaste wife. So from that example, why in the Vedic culture they made these rules? Because Varnashram was actually meant you to bring to bhakti ultimately. If one could do this for husband, what is the problem? One will not do it for God. Therefore God was considered as husband, father was considered as husband, mother, father, everybody was treated like God, so that one becomes God conscious. And then if you come ultimately to God, surrender to God, it is so easy because you are already established in that principle. So now because we don't even know what is Varnashram, then it becomes difficult to understand bhakti. So there is no such thing that you have to do something to adjust or you have to get out and then do Swarup Siddha. Once you are surrendered, then you do bhakti. There is nothing else you can do actually. What else can you do once you are Krishna's man? Is it clear?
Yeah, it is clear. I think I find it's a strange thing that my group of friends, and I'm speaking of you just personally, I feel like my group of friends, we all took some pretty serious risks for Krishna at one point and joined the ashram, and that was really, it was a glorious experience, but I feel like also we're still overcoming a lot of kind of wrong conceptions we picked up. It was like a very heavy jnana samskara that prevents us from properly engaging the world, actually. Does that make sense?
Yes, very much. Because at present, bhakti is completely covered by jnana, yoga and karma. These three things are absolutely covering it, and people have really no clear concept of what is bhakti. It's my own personal experience speaking with so many people. There's so much confusion. And although they will also say what I am saying, but they don't understand what they are saying. Forget about practicing it. So then this confusion remains, that is this bhakti, is that bhakti, what I am going to do in bhakti, how can I do bhakti in the West, how can I do bhakti, I am working, I am not living here in Vrindavan. So all these questions come because the basic definition is not really understood. All the people may be quoting the slokas, Anupulini Krishna Masulinam and this and that. But the concept is not clear.
I have, and again, Maharaj, this has been such a deep issue for me that it's a pleasure and it's satisfying to talk to you about this, but I don't want to take too much of your time, so I think we can always pick this up later. So just let me know. I wouldn't at all be hurt if you need to go. But I find that I have a theory that I can't help but think some of the early Western students of bhakti, whether Srila Prabhupada or others disciples, maybe they were coming out of a culture that was very hedonistic. So for them, they thought bhakti it had to be jnana, it had to be escaping that. And in some way, I feel like there was an overemphasis that turned into a kind of hatred of the world. I don't know. I don't mean to keep telling you my opinion and asking you what you think, but I don't know. That seems to be how I have a sense like that, but I don't know. Maybe this is an issue for historians, not for philosophers.
Actually, that's not only in the West, but here even in India. This concept is very common and in fact Jiva Goswami has written this Vairagya Purushartha. If you remember the word, he said it is like preceded by Vairagya. So the psychology, whatever may be the psychology in ISKCON and what happened when Prabhupada came, but here even in India, the thing is that a normal person is a householder, and then if he has to take to some spiritual life, he has to do something different. If you are not doing something different, then it does not look like that you are a spiritual being. Even the person's ego is not satisfied. So what is different? Different is Vairagya, renunciation. Whatever form it may be, that you go and live in ashram, you change dress, you shave head, you have to do something different. If you are doing the same thing, then it is not bhakti. And the interesting thing is that in Bhagavatam, and Mahaprabhu established that gopis who did not do a damn thing different. They were even married, they had children, they had everything. They are the topmost devotees. Not an iota of renunciation. They did not even give up their ornaments or anything when Krishna left. They kept on eating and continuing. But they are such devotees that no one can understand, and this is one of the reasons people cannot understand this bhakti of the gopis, because they understand something which is different. You renounce something, somebody is standing on one leg like Dhruv Maharaj was doing, or somebody is chanting so many 3 lakh names, or doing parikrama every day for Govardhan. Something you have to do different, then it is bhakti. But if you are simply living in your own house with wife, children, and you are going to job also, and job is also not related with bhakti, you are teaching students, you are wearing tie and suit, no tilak, no shaved head, how can you be a devotee? So this is a big misconception in people's mind, even in India. And bhakti is that which is not dependent on anything. That's why Jiva Goswami says bahya. He used the word external. So these are external things, and even our Goswamis did it, because if they have not done it, people will not recognize them, that they are sadhus, they will not listen to him. If they wrote books, no one will care for them. So there are so much stories about them, that they were living one night under one tree and they are eating only once a day and only on this chapati and that chapati or 50 grams of buttermilk. But what that has to do with bhakti? It has nothing to do with bhakti. Sanatana Goswami had a nice blanket, and when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu saw it, he looked at it in a very suspicious manner. How this guy has got this nice blanket. So then he went to Ganga, he gave it to some poor guy and got his rotten cloth. Then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was very happy. So now people think, the Babajis think that if you are dressed shabbily, in a dirty manner, then you are a devotee. And if I dress nicely, then I get criticized. And this guy is a Baba, but he dresses nicely. So these are all misconceptions of bhakti. That's why it is the rahasya. Now you understand why it is rahasya?
Yeah.
That even after hearing it, that this is the rahasya, still people will have doubting.
And so many people read the Bhagavad Gita and they say Bhagavad Gita is a very easy text, very basic. But it seems to me that this is very much the rahasya of the Gita as well.
Bhagavad Gita is more difficult to understand than Bhagavatam. Because there, Krishna is using a lot of niti. He is trying to convince Arjuna to fight him somehow. So sometimes he says things, goes like overboard. All right.
Thank you so much, Babaji Maharaj. Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much, Babaji Maharaj.
Hare Bol.
Very well.
Can I ask a question?
Just wait, let me put this on YouTube. Just in case somebody is writing. Okay.
Okay, in the beginning it was mentioned that Nam Kirtan is the only solution. And it's also said that Nam Kirtan will give you everything in the topmost. But there are 9 processes of devotional service. So, and I don't remember the other 9 also having that same kind of glory, or the other 8 having that same kind of glorification as Nam Kirtan. So my question is that are the other 8 processes subsumed into Nam Kirtan, or are they intermixed, or is it really just Nam Kirtan, nothing else? Is it like that?
No, it's not like that. So, Nam Kirtan is important, but it's not that nothing else is there. Nor is it that others are part of it. It is prominent because the name of the Lord is directly Him Himself. So you have a direct link immediately. Otherwise, in the Bhagavatam it is also said that when you hear Bhagavatam and you desire to hear, it becomes arrested in your heart.
Yes.
And before that he himself has said Shrotavyam, Kirtatavyam, Smartavyam, Chitamayam. You should hear, do Kirtan. Because to do Kirtan you have to first hear. Right? How can you do Kirtan without hearing? So hearing is always the first step. And the interesting thing is that hearing is also bhakti. In other paths, hearing is not the process. In the karma, if you just hear, it is not karma yoga. In the jnana, just hearing is not jnana, it's separate. But in bhakti, even hearing is bhakti. So hearing is the first. And when you have heard properly, then you do kirtan.
So a sadhak.
So Nam Kirtan is important and glorified here in Bhagavatam. That's why the whole story of Ajamila is there.
A sadhak who is very serious about making rapid advancement, they will just focus on kirtan and not so much the others. Is that right?
Not necessarily.
Not necessarily.
Because you see, the kirtan is, now the problem with kirtan is that you know what is kirtan? That many people together. Bahubir Militva Uchchai Ganam. Many people come together and sing loudly. That is called kirtan. So, this is the thing with kirtan. You need few other people maybe. And then Jiva Goswami says, Sukantham Chet Ganam Kartavyam. That if you have a sweet voice, then you sing. After all, when you are singing for Krishna. Krishna, he knows the music. He is also a musician. He knows the ragas. So he would also like to hear that you sing nicely, melodiously. If you are singing out of raga, then it will not sound very appealing to his ears. There is another thing that if you have devotion, then that's what he likes. But as a sadhaka, we also have to make an effort to sing properly. Not just because kirtan is said, then you sing in any way, like many times you hear on these mics, so irritating. Not kirtan. So it has to be done properly. So that is the difficulty in kirtan. And the kirtan is very powerful. I think all of us have experienced this fact. But it is all absorbing. All our senses, mind, tongue, ears, body, everything is engaged. But it also has to be done in a proper manner. So then, if we are dependent on others and that is not possible, then instead of Nam Kirtan, then we do Nam Jap. And the importance is actually of the name. So Nam Kirtan is very powerful. But for that, you need certain preparation, some instruments, people, time. If all that facility is not there, then Nam Jap, you don't depend on anything. So for Nam Smaran, because in Kirtan also, all the Kirtan by itself is purifying, but ultimately you have to be absorbed through mind. So yena kena prakarena manah Krishna nivesayat. Somehow or other mind should be fixed on Krishna. So although in bhakti, even doing things physically is devotion. Mind is a separate sense. Hands, legs, they can also do bhakti. They can also do that. And chanting the name, even if mind is not there, still it is bhakti. But ultimate essence is absorption. That's why when you see the different stages of bhakti, when you have nishtha, ruchi, so when ruchi is there, naturally mind is there. That is a higher stage in the earlier anartha nivritti. So one of the importance of kirtan is that it is naturally pleasing to the mind, because mind also likes music. Mind is attracted to good music, good singing.
So, after being inspired, after hearing, one decides to make a resolution to surrender. But then after the samskara come and pull you away from that resolution. So how do you keep that up, the resolution? So many temptations are there. Distractions.
You have to hear again and again.
So
by hearing only you get the resolution, right?
Yeah. So but it's not just get a resolution and everything. You live a normal life, And
so therefore hear it again and again, because that's what hearing the resolution.
You have to keep it up.
Yes. And if it happens once, then that is very fortunate. And if it is not happening, then you get the strength by hearing.
You have to renew as many times.
Yes. You have to recharge it. As Maharaj said, it is 50-50.
It always boils down to that.
It's following on Lakshman's question. If, especially in this process of trying to surrender and trying to purify ourselves from material thoughts and desires, how does that happen if you're still in the world and you're not absorbed in a way where you're able to fully focus on that?
So that's what I said, that it has to be practiced again and again. Just as we have practiced in the world, remaining in the world, we have done these things again and again, right? And therefore we become accustomed to those things. So now to give that up, you have to do the other process. And what you want to become attached to, you have to do it again and again. Consciously, knowing, because in the beginning we don't have taste for it, or maybe very little taste. But we understand with our intellect, and we know that this is good. So then you follow it with proper consciousness and sincerity. So then slowly what will happen, that those samskaras, worldly samskaras, will become weak. And the samskaras for bhakti will become stronger. So at present we don't have bhakti samskara. If bhakti samskaras are there, then it will happen immediately. Just once is enough. But when they are not there, then we repeat. That's why it is called sadhana bhakti, or practice. So then it is prescribed. You chant, you hear, you bring the association, you come to Holy Dham. Because these things are directly related. When you go to job, then it doesn't have a direct relationship. So it is more problematic. But if you are truly surrendered, then that also does not matter to you. It doesn't have any influence. But since that is not the case, then we have to do things which are directly related. Like name of the Lord or deity worship. So that's why these things are prescribed. But once you get that mood, then you see it everywhere. That's the meaning of advancement. That your awareness changes. Now you don't see those things as object of enjoyment, which you saw before as object of enjoyment. That awareness, that consciousness changes. But to come to that level, we have to practice. Because we are so accustomed to see everything as meant for my pleasure. And it is so natural that we forget this forgetfulness of my real status as a servant of God. This is very prevalent. So how to become situated that I don't forget it? I have to practice it. What is prevalent consciousness is that I am the enjoyer. People we always talk about enjoying. But I went there, this was very enjoyable. So in the beginning at least enjoy in devotional manner. But ultimately our enjoyment should come only by service. And that is the real enjoyment. That is the real enjoyment. It's not that in bhakti there is no enjoyment. Here it is the real one. The one which will satisfy us completely. And then you will have no desire for that. So renunciation will come in bhakti naturally. That is the meaning, that bhakti brings natural renunciation. But in the beginning we don't have it, so in the beginning we have to consciously do it. Knowing that this is not favorable. This is not going to lead me to my goal, so I avoid those things. Then it becomes natural. So now it is like swimming against the current. We are in the current of samsara. Everything is against bhakti. Everything is jostling you to turn to the other side. So then the flow of the river will change. And it's actually flow of the mind. The mind will start flowing in the same way as your intelligence is saying. Now we intellectually understand that mind is not ready for it. So mind wants to follow the past habits, and by intelligence we understand that it is not proper to do that. So we have to make our mind match with intelligence. And then it is natural.